You are lying awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to a voice in your head that sounds exactly like you, but absolutely hates you. It is methodically replaying every tiny mistake you made today, convincing you that you are fundamentally broken and that everyone is eventually going to figure it out. Before we find a way to quiet that exhausting voice and bring you some peace, please take a moment to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding so we can keep navigating these hidden, fragile corners of the mind together. Let us look at what is keeping you awake right now. You know this voice intimately because it has been with you for as long as you can remember. It is the invisible roommate you never asked for, the one who follows you everywhere, watching your every move with cold, unforgiving eyes. When you look in the mirror, it immediately points out every flaw. When you speak up in a crowded room, it whispers that you sounded foolish and that everyone is secretly judging you. When you try to rest, it accuses you of being lazy and falling behind. It is a relentless, grinding mechanism that never sleeps, never takes a day off, and never shows mercy. I want you to notice how heavy this feels in your body right now. This is not just a mental exercise happening in a vacuum. It is a physical weight. It is the tension pulling down your shoulders, the shallow rhythm of your breathing, and that tight, heavy knot sitting right in the center of your chest. Imagine carrying a heavy stone, weighing perhaps 50 kilograms, strapped tightly to your back everywhere you go, day after day, year after year. Every step requires monumental effort. Every interaction is drained of joy because you are always bracing for the next internal attack. That is exactly what you are doing to your nervous system by living with this internal enemy. The greatest tragedy of the inner critic is not simply that it is cruel. The true tragedy is that you believe it is telling the objective truth. We are all deeply prone to mistaking brutality for honesty. We somehow think that if a voice is this harsh, this unsparing, and this painful, it must be the voice of reason. We assume it is the ultimate judge, keeping us in check, protecting us from making complete fools of ourselves. It creates a suffocating courtroom inside your mind. In this endless trial, you are the exhausted defendant, but the voice acts as the prosecution, the judge, and the executioner all at once. The trial is rigged from the start. The verdict is always guilty, no matter what evidence you present. You are trapped inside an abandoned, decaying house where the wind constantly rattles the broken windows, and you cannot find the door to get out. You are completely exhausted because fighting a daily war is draining, but it is infinitely more draining when the enemy lives inside your own mind and knows exactly where your deepest, most tender wounds are hidden. The voice knows exactly which buttons to push because it has access to your entire history of failures, embarrassments, and regrets. It weaponizes your own memories against you. But finally standing still, but after spending countless hours sitting with people in their darkest, most vulnerable moments, guiding them through these exact shadows, I have come to realize something profound. I need you to hear this very carefully, and I want you to let it sink deep into your bones. That cruel voice inside your head is not you. It is a ghost. It is an echo. Think back to the very moment you were born. You did not arrive in this world hating yourself. A newborn child does not look at its own hands and criticize their shape. A young child does not hold back its laughter because it is worried it sounds too loud, nor does it question its right to take up space in the room. That self-hatred was not woven into your DNA. It was learned. It was absorbed from the atmosphere around you. The inner critic is a wound-up clock mechanism. Long ago, the environment around you wound it up. Perhaps it was the harsh words of someone who was supposed to care for you and protect you. Perhaps it was the heavy expectations placed upon your shoulders when you were far too small to carry them. Or perhaps it was simply the cold, demanding atmosphere of a world that values perfection over humanity. When you were young and vulnerable, you swallowed those external voices to survive. Over time, they dissolved into your own internal monologue. You forgot where they came from, and you began to mistake their voice for your own. But here is the most surprising, paradigm-shifting truth I have discovered about human nature. The inner critic does not actually want to destroy you. It thinks it is protecting you. I want you to imagine a terrified, half-starved guard dog chained to a fence in the freezing rain. It barks viciously at every single thing that moves. It snarls at the wind, it snaps at falling leaves, and it violently attacks anyone who tries to come near. From the outside, the dog looks vicious, evil, and dangerous. But if you look closely, right into its eyes, you will see that the dog is violently trembling. It is terrified. Your inner critic is exactly like that guard dog. It attacks you internally so that the outside world cannot attack you first. It criticizes your creative work before someone else can reject it, shielding you from the pain of public humiliation. It tells you that you are unlovable, so that you will not take the massive risk of opening your heart and being abandoned. It points out your flaws so that you can hide them before anyone else can use them against you. It is a misguided, desperate survival strategy. It is trying to keep you safe by keeping you incredibly small. It believes that if it beats you down, you will never step out of line, and therefore you will never get hurt. Once you realize this, the entire dynamic changes. You cannot defeat a shadow by swinging a heavy sword at it. You cannot scream at the inner critic to shut up, because fighting it only generates more noise and gives it more energy. You are just feeding the guard dog more fear, proving to it that there is indeed a massive threat. You cannot hate yourself into a state of peace. Instead, you have to radically change your relationship to the voice. Imagine you are walking down a foggy, desolate forest path. The inner critic is the thick, suffocating grey fog surrounding you, whispering dark things into your ears. If you panic and try to fight the fog, punching at the air, you will only exhaust yourself. You will fall to your knees, gasping for breath, while the fog remains exactly the same. You do not fight the fog. You simply acknowledge that it is there, and you keep walking. You observe it. You take a step back and you look at the voice without participating in its endless drama. The next time the voice tells you that you are a total failure and that you will never amount to anything, I want you to stop whatever you are doing. Take a slow, deep breath, pulling the air deep into your lungs, holding it for just a second, and exhaling fully. Then simply say to the voice, "I hear you. I know you are terrified, and I know you are trying to protect me, but I do not need you right now. I am completely safe." Treat the voice exactly the way you would treat that panicked, trembling guard dog. You do not hit the dog. You do not yell at it. You approach it slowly. You speak to it with a soft, gentle, unshakable calmness. You offer it a radical, unconditional gentleness. You show it that the war is over. If you are finding a sense of peace in these words, and if you want to keep untangling these inner knots, I invite you to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding as we continue to build a quiet refuge for your mind. As you stop fighting the voice and start observing it with deep compassion, something beautiful and miraculous happens. The voice begins to lose its iron grip on your mind. Because you are no longer resisting it, the friction disappears. The fog begins to thin, and warm, golden sunlight starts to break through the dark branches of the forest. The frantic, ticking anxiety of the wound-up clock begins to slow down, tick by tick, until it finally rests. The silence between your thoughts grows wider, deeper, and infinitely more peaceful. And in that beautiful, expansive silence, you will begin to hear another voice rising up from underneath the noise. It is a voice that has been there all along, waiting patiently for the storm to pass. It is the voice of your true self. This true voice does not shout. It never demands attention, and it never criticizes. It is vast, calm, and infinitely compassionate. It sounds like the steady rhythm of a calm ocean, pulling back from the shore under a midnight sky. It does not speak in anxieties or fears. It speaks in deep, quiet knowing. It tells you that your worth is not tied to your daily productivity, your physical appearance, or the inevitable mistakes you make simply by being human. It tells you that you are allowed to exist exactly as you are, perfectly imperfect and deeply whole. I want you to imagine standing at the edge of a beautiful, quiet dirt road, bathed in the warm, golden light of late afternoon. For as long as you can remember, you have been carrying a heavy canvas backpack filled with jagged, heavy stones. Those stones are every harsh word you have ever spoken to yourself. They are every impossible standard you failed to meet, every cruel judgment you have absorbed, and every piece of shame you have carried on behalf of other people. Take a deep, slow breath. Reach up to your shoulders. Slip the heavy straps off, one side at a time. Let the backpack fall to the ground. Listen to the heavy, satisfying thud as those stones hit the dirt. You do not have to carry it for one more second. You can leave it right here, entirely abandoned by the side of the road. Roll your shoulders back. Feel the sudden, beautiful, airy lightness expanding in your chest. Notice how much easier it is to draw breath. Step forward into the sunlight, leaving the shadow behind you. The war is finally over. You are free. You are profoundly safe. And above all else, no matter what the voice ever told you, you are, and always have been, more than enough.